Hello and welcome to the short Vort on Parshas Naso. This week we have the famous Sota, the wayward wife that goes astray, and it is discussed in Perek Hey, beginning in Pasuk Yud Aleph. At the end of the procedure, where she drinks the special waters, if she is innocent, the Pasuk Chav Ches says, then she will be considered tahora, and she will be have proven her innocence, and she will produce seed. So it seems like this person who clearly did an Avera, she didn't listen to her husband, she secluded herself with a man that was not her spouse, and there were witnesses, and yet in the end, when she didn't go any further than that, she didn't fully cheat on the husband, then she gets rewarded. Seems kind of strange that that someone who sinned should appear to get rewarded. So I was thinking, where else could we see a case like this where there's a sin that seems to be rewarded? And I thought that there's a case of when the Bnei Yisrael entered Eretz Yisrael, there was a scenario where if someone was stingy, they could get Saras, that white plague, on their houses, and they'd have to take it out, they'd suffer losses. But sometimes it ended up being that they found in their houses these treasures hidden there by the Amorites. So again, it seems like they did something wrong, and yet it seems like they're getting rewarded. How could we explain this? So Moshe Feinstein Zatzal in Sefer Dorash Moshe says, by the case of the Nigei Button, by the Saras of the houses, that the person was really supposed to get this money. He would have gotten the treasure anyhow, he would have gotten his finances, but depending how he was, he could have had one of two scenarios. Either if he was righteous, it would have come simply straightforward and he gotten the money, no special scenario. But since he did sin, so he had to go through this embarrassing procedure as well as suffer monetary losses that deducted from this gain. So that's the two different aspects, that Hashem pays for the good and the bad. Everything that's supposed to be, Hashem calculates to the penny. So perhaps I thought we could use the same process and transfer it to the case of the Sota. Yes, she did a sin, but the husband and wife were destined to have more babies, or their first babies if they didn't have beforehand. But how it happened could have occurred in one of two situations. One, a smooth marriage, and then they would eventually have their children. Or two, they'd go through this very embarrassing procedure, and they'd have to suffer those pains, but ultimately get what they were destined to get. I'd like to share two other reasons. One that is either by the Shilah or similar to what the Shilah says, and that is that since she was going on this wrong path and she was heading towards cheating, she was secluded with another man, it's very hard to stop in the moment. Yet she did that. She was able to do tshuva and change her direction. And because she did tshuva in such a difficult situation, she actually gets rewarded for that aspect. She gets punished for the sin until then, but she does get a reward for changing her derech, because that is so difficult to do. And finally, and I'm not sure of the source, but given that she didn't cheat, then there's three different scenarios that could happen. One is the wife could say, honey, you didn't trust me, the marriage wasn't so good, I went out, I'm not going to drink, I am innocent, but I'm not going to take the Sota, but then she has to forfeit the ksuba alimony. So that's one scenario. Another scenario is the husband says, you know what, this marriage isn't working for me, don't drink it, don't drink the Sota, but I want to have a divorce, and he has to pay her his alimony then, the get, the ksuba. And the final scenario, which is Hashem's favorite, is when they say, you know what, we had a rocky period in our marriage, but let's try to make it work. Let's have peace again. And so with that, they merit to have a family, because Hashem loves peace, especially between husband and wife. So we see three different lessons here. One is that Hashem is very careful to pay reward and punishment, whatever it's supposed to be. Hashem is meticulous and precise. We also see the power of someone who does tshuva, that they can be rewarded for the tshuva even though they initially had sinned. And finally, Hashem loves peace, especially between a husband and a wife, and will reward that. May we see peace in Eretz Yisrael and throughout the world. Thank you for listening. Like, share, subscribe. Have a great Shabbos.